Chairman Behnam, thank you for appearing before the Ag Committee today. During our discussion when you were last before the committee, the Basel Endgame proposal had not yet been proposed by the banking regulators. And since then, we've seen an overwhelming response to the negative consequences of the proposal, particularly to derivative end users. The proposal would have significant consequences for the health of the U.S. derivatives market and would make hedging more expensive for market participants like farmers and ranchers. I just had the chance to speak with the Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. Powell, on this topic over at the Financial Services Committee. And Chairman Powell expressed that he was willing to give these concerns a closer look. Chairman Behnam, would you be willing to assist the Fed in taking a closer look? And has the CFTC been asked by the Fed board to offer feedback?
Thanks, Congressman. Certainly, we are willing. We've been quite active, me personally, with my colleagues at the board level, but also staff at the staff level, to share some of these concerns around what I've sort of determined as the shifting market structure and environment, which is fewer FCMs, clearing brokers, less services for small ag and energy producers in Oklahoma and across the country, and making sure, as you remember well, after 2008, that we're incentivizing clearing. In order to have a healthy clearing environment, we need all the parts together, and we want to make sure that we're not creating unnecessary barriers to clearing and clearing services for end users.
Congress has a long history of broad bipartisan support for not disadvantaging end users, including in Dodd-Frank, where I served on the conference committee. Unfortunately, the Fed is proposing to undermine the work done by Congress and this committee and to cause disruption in the U.S. derivatives market that your agency regulates. I also had the opportunity to discuss with Chairman Powell how the proposal will disincentivize banks from offering clearing services. As you know, Chairman, in Dodd-Frank, Congress mandated central clearing as a way to reduce risk in the system. I know you've expressed concerns about the decline in the number of banks that can clear derivatives for end users, which has made it harder for end users to find a bank to offer the service. Chairman Powell also acknowledged this impact is something he's looking at in the Basel Endgame proposal. How do you see the proposal impacting the willingness of banks to clear derivatives for end users, and will you commit to working with the Fed to fix this?
Congressman, you know, the clearing business has very tight margins, and with low interest rates historically, I know that's changed over the past couple years, and the costs related to clearing, there's been a number of clearing members that have left the business. I stated earlier to the chairman, 20 years ago we had 177 FCMs, now we're down to 64. We have concentration in the top 5 clearing members, which are the largest banks, of over 60% of all customer money. So we need, as you point out from 2008 and Dodd-Frank, we need to incentivize clearing. Clearing is a risk-reducing function of the market, and I think we need to recognize that risk reduction function to ensure that we incentivize participants on the clearing side and then end users from using these markets.
Chairman, at the same time that this is happening, the Securities and Exchange Commission just finalized a rule in December that will increase clearing in Treasury markets. This will have a substantial impact on market access. Chairman Behnam, with the current shortage of firms available to provide clearing services to agricultural end users, do you see this being an additional stress on the Treasuries?
It's potentially an additional stress. We would have to see how the rule out of the SEC is implemented. Ultimately, a very different market, obviously, as you know, coming from the Financial Services Committee, but ultimately, we need a diverse pool of clearing members, and right now we're seeing a concentration of clearing members in the largest banks. Historically, we've had non-bank clearing members, we've had other small FCMs servicing end users, and we're just not seeing that population of clearing services like we did even 10 years ago, let alone 20 years ago.
With my remaining time, I'd just like to reiterate that the futures markets play an important role in price stability for consumers and businesses. And Chairman Behnam, could you offer any final thoughts on the importance of protections in the Dodd-Frank Act for firms that use derivatives hedging?
Commercial end users, as you noted, are very much prioritized in Dodd-Frank, creating exemptions in part to incentivize the use of markets, but ultimately to understand that commercial end users typically do not present risk like a financial institution. And I think that treatment needs to remain the same as we think about policy going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yield back, Mr. Chairman.